Hi guys. We already had two panels today on how can we bridge the civil. The I apologize. I will go again. Hi guys, how are you? It's been like a really long two panels, but we had a bit of opportunity today to create Voices in Beirut to be able to bring clarity for the international community on how can we bridge the needs of the civil society on the ground. So we started with the first panel about how can the role of the government and the syndicate should it take over the role of the civil society and the initiatives for the next year. And from it, we went a bit to the discussion on what's happening on the ground, and then we went on whether should be there international intervention or not. And in the both panels, they were really putting a lot of hopes on election. So in this panel, we're gonna talk about the role of election to bring justice and hope for the city of Beirut and its people. So I would like you guys to tell us first your opinion on this statement, and who are you and who do you represent?
Hi. First, we need all to consider general elections as a step in the process of change and justice. It's not the end of the line. It's just a beginning of the line. Why do we need elections to achieve justice? Because I personally don't believe that this existing government, whether the executive or the legislative government, is worth or trusted to bring justice. So what we need to do is an independent judiciary, which cannot be achieved but through general elections because it's a parliamentary legislation. Then we need a new executive government, which will be definitely based on the elections. So elections is a step so that we can start the path of justice, which is going to be a long path, but it's the only way to achieve this is through change through elections. And that's why we need elections. By the way, I'm Walid Fakhreddin. I'm an activist, former Secretary General of Lebanese Association for Democratic Elections. I work with elections and media, and I'm active in a group, several groups, including National Salvation Charter, Amid 17 Tishrin, and others. Thank you.
Okay, so I will start by giving my opinion. I think that elections are our only issue. Elections are the only issue for the Lebanese crisis. The current corrupt political confessional class has proved its incompetence for many years. So we need elections, and as Walid said, elections are the beginning of the change. We have to work hard before the elections to be elected. We have to prepare a very good political program. We as the National Bloc have our political program. I will talk about it later. So yeah, elections are our only issue today. By the way, I'm Haidar from the National Bloc.
Hi, I think we're all on the same page on that one. I think elections is the next logical step, from a timeline perspective. I think also it's the first step to get us to justice. I think today, the diaspora is huge, is large, and there's a lot of options we can take advantage of them to make sure that we get to that mean. And once we're able to achieve that first step, many others will follow. So it's the short-term goal for us as Lebanese, outside Lebanon or inside Lebanon, to get us to start rebuilding the country, justice being most probably the very first next step towards that. My name is Joey Diab. I live in San Francisco. I'm part of the mejterbin mejtemiin network, or United Diaspora, and I represent the city of San Francisco in the network.
Thank you, Joey.
Hello, good afternoon. I think if I were asked this question maybe 2 to 3 years ago, I would have not answered it the same way I'm going to answer it now. Because after the October 17 revolution, we started seeing a burst of a momentum that provided the underground that has already been there, but it has provided a much more intense momentum for civil society groups to organize and to actually make their voices heard and to start being part of the change-making process. So this is why I would have said 3 to 4 years ago that no, maybe it's not a way to establish justice. But now looking at the short-term perspective and seeing that elections are just around the corner, while taking into consideration the momentum in place in the group and the work of the groups taking place, I think just adding on to what our colleagues have said, definitely elections is a first step. It's going to open the door, number one, for an active change-making process because relatively with the whole work that the groups are doing now, they have more chances to be part of the process. However, will they be intensely part of the process? We still have the sulta or the state parties, the dominating state parties will still dominate because the electoral law in it by itself is a very law made to gerrymander the elections. But we have more chances to get there, and once we're there, we'll definitely be adding to a much more independent justice dynamic in place. My name is Ghiya el Assad. I am a youth activist and a member in minteshreen. Minteshreen is a recent youth-led political party born out of the October 17 revolution. We entirely aim to have a decentralized civil state that is aiming to the state of social justice and human rights.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Hi. Talking about elections at this moment, I think is something that is highly important because after you mentioned 17 October revolution or whatever demonstration or movements, I don't want to get into the naming لأنه دايما there's always an issue about naming 17 October phenomenon because it is a phenomenon. So it's very important for us because it is actually the tangible results that people who haven't been much involved in what is happening. لأنه we all know that National Bloc, minteshreen, Beirut Madinati, meghterbin, mejtemiin, and many other networks have been created after 17 October and brought people together. And this is what has made it tangible results for people. And I think people now understand that it is not a matter of how many people are on the streets, whether they are 100,000, 1 million, whatsoever, because we cannot not see or unsee the COVID effect, the economic crisis, and most importantly, the social fabric in Lebanon, because we've seen in the revolution that people have been having different perception about what is happening. So the elections, and I'm very happy to have you here, is very important for us and for people in the, for the diaspora, for the expats, because it is what will show the whole community what has been happening for the past 2 years, instead of thinking that youth have been dormant, they haven't been active in the streets, people in the revolution have been fighting with each other, or whatsoever propaganda have been given by the sulta or the authority that is currently taking over. So it's very important to focus now, and I see it not as the first step, I see it as a milestone. It's a very important milestone for us, and I'm so much emphasizing on the diaspora because we have so many people outside Lebanon, and they do, and they can make a difference. Because in here, it's a bit complicated, as we say, but we have to join efforts together and really focus on the elections. So, I'm Salih Hammoud. I have a PhD in communication and media studies. I'm a versatile between academic, teaching, lecturing, researching, and providing training, consultancies, and of course, I try to be active as much as possible. Also, I'm a published author in different newspapers.
Thank you, Sari. Thank you, Ghiya. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Reem. Thank you, Walid. Let's start the conversation. So, generally, we kind of all have this opinion that election is a step for change. But today it's August 4, and we're kind of addressing this as well to the survivors and to the families and the friends of the victims. And they want to know that is our efforts gonna lead to bringing them a bit of comfort by having the truth out and justice being served through our efforts in the election. Are we focusing on the next elections for justice, or are we still in the revolution, or we see something else? So did August 4 give us a bit out of the revolution and make us focus on justice, or are we just still focusing on the revolution?
I don't see them as two things, basically. Since 17 October, the call for independent judiciary system in Lebanon was the call there. And what we've seen throughout the investigation is that it's been blocked by the political elite in Lebanon, being blocked by the president, the prime minister, the members of the parliament. The constitution won't help us bringing or investigating the role of the president in the crime of 4 of August. So what we need is not to know the truth, because I think we all know the truth.
Do we?
We do. We know that. I don't care who's the person who carried the nitrates to the port or not. I'm talking about it's an institution, a system who's been there. Either they helped, or they were silenced, or they were part of whatever happened. So what we need to do is justice. To know, I think the investigation will lead to some information. It's not an easy investigation, but it can come up with basically a real story of what happened. But the more important thing today is justice. How can we achieve justice? Justice within a group who's basically of criminals, because they are part of this, is not possible. Technically, it's not possible because we are asking the system to punish the system, which is a bit bizarre. So what we need to do first is to have a change, to rebuild our country, because this is a totally destroyed country. Most of us here are survivors of the 4th of August, and it's just a matter of chance that we're still alive, nothing else. We've all lost dear friends and loved ones. We all know people who are still suffering from their injuries. So we are the victims here, and we are, as one of these victims, think that to achieve justice, and not the truth, but justice, not only the truth, but justice, it's through a solid system, which cannot be achieved today without having a change in the political scenery, and that cannot technically happen without elections.
Do you agree?
And I don't agree that anything will bring justice. Nothing will bring justice. But the truth is important. لأنه people who died, people who were affected, and as you said, Walid, we're all victims. But I think, after this memorial, it's very important for people to, okay, we're victims, but we don't want to victimize ourselves. We shouldn't be saying, إنه خلاص, we cannot do something about it. They are a bunch of criminals. There's nothing that we can do with them. It's important for people to change their discourse, to change the way they think, or to change the way they feel, to feel that they do have the power over the process. Working on different, what you mentioned, different aspects of accessing or trying to get the truth is something that will help a little bit. And going back to elections, it will help all the people and as much as possible. And we do have segregation in the way people think. So people might believe more that change is possible through elections and through...
Yeah, so one thing that I think is important to note here is August 4th, 2020 exacerbated the problems that are already existing in Lebanon.
Exactly.
This is not a new thing. We haven't discovered a new country where corruption is like, going through the veins of every political person here, right? So it is a very sad day. We all lost people we love. We're all, we're hurt and, in different ways. But this just, exacerbated the rage and the anger we've had on October 17 and even before. So we're just still fighting towards the same thing. It is just helping us, pointing fingers at exact new things that happen and milestones that happen in the Lebanese society, like the August 4, and it just feeds the anger and the rage of people in Lebanon and outside of Lebanon. So the elections coming up, right, as you're saying, is the next milestone, is the next step. And August 4, 2020, 2021, today, is just reminding us that we've been living in hell for the past 30 years.
More than 30 years.
More than 30 years, even than that, right?
So what will be different this year in the election?
I think people are realizing, people have woken up. Many of us have woken up.
I think the management of the crisis and post-crisis. I remember on the 4th of August 2020, they said in 5 days we will know what happened, etc. The 5 days, a year later, we don't know. They didn't tell us anything. We know. The other thing, the government resigned. They failed to form a new cabinet to solve any of the problems. And then you add all the financial crisis, the service crisis we are living. I think today the Lebanese people are fed up. Fed up of the system. And by the way, in the next elections, people don't care who they're going to vote for. They want to vote for change. They don't even care to have a united front. They need to have a one logo, a brand identity, which they will go vote for it. And despite the diversity, the things we might agree or disagree as groups, this is all minor to the people. The people feel that if change didn't happen today, and by May 2022, nothing going to happen. We're going to leave the country forever, and that's not what we want to do. And even when we speak, they're trying to block the diaspora vote through Article 112 of the electoral law, which is the 6 seats of the new 6 seats in the parliament, so limiting the impact of the diaspora to 6 seats instead of the 128, etc. And technically, there's a major thing why I think election is very important, because what the government is doing today is simply trying to push the elections, because we started the electoral calendar. There's things that should be done, but they're not doing these things. Technically, we're going to reach a date, say, sorry, we don't have ready. The time or the money to do this, so we're going to postpone elections.
For that,
I agree with Walid. Lebanese people are tired of this ongoing crisis for many years, and they will probably vote right in 2022. And I think that we can achieve justice to respond to Sally. We can achieve justice since Lebanon is a part of the United Nations. And since we have good judges like Fadi Salwan, like Tariq Bitar, like Fadi Aridi, they just need technical assistance from the UN to achieve this justice internally and to stop the hindrance of this political class, to stop them from hindering this process.
I will continue with you, but in this same context, if justice would lead us to have the people responsible of this crime to be behind bars, why are we focusing on elections, not justice? Especially that groups like us, which represent the front of the civil society, should be really focusing on the role of the civil society. And on August 4, at least for the victims and the families and for all Beirut, justice would be more important than an election that we have been proven for the last 40 years under whatever law, under whatever opposition, independent or not independent, the same corrupted people are still there. So what if next year we failed? How can we serve justice for the people of Beirut? And especially like Minteshreen and National Bloc, you're on the front line of political parties and newly political parties at least, or re-emerged. Why are you focusing on election, not on justice? And it could be both, but why?
we're not focusing on just one. The election is a mean to achieve justice. So both are high priorities for us. And I don't think we will fail in the next elections. People are now conscious that this political class won't punish itself. We need new people to punish these people that have led to the Lebanese collapse that we're facing now.
I just want to add one quick thing to the previous question that agree with what Reem said. I think that you asked earlier why now it's going to work, and we're talking that we're expected those elections to bear fruit. One important point here is that the youth in Lebanon today is extremely aware of the situation, and the diaspora as well. But our, the generation of our parents that lived the war and then got out of it and then have lived, what came after that, are tired. Lebanese people are tired of just trying to live day by day. And then since our generation have woken up, around, what's going on, all the issues we have, everybody is hungry for justice for August 4 and for having just a safe country and be able to live here with their families and not separated across the globe, right? And with that, and that hunger, that awareness today, we're going to be able to achieve, what other new political parties are going to be able to, and probably we'll talk about it in a second. But I think it's important to know that we can have all of the means we want if we're not hungry for that justice, for building a country. We're rebuilding a country from scratch today. Yeah. And if we're not hungry for that, we're not going to get anywhere. But I don't think that's the case. And I'll let you.
What do you think?
I think I would just like to bring into perspective that it really is not a situation of either or, because in reality some of us started as grassroots movements, we're organizing outside of the political system, but for many years we were marginalized outside of the political system as alternative groups. So when I was talking about the momentum a while back, why is momentum very important? It's not something to only focus on as the goal, because momentum is just momentum. But it's important because it opens the door and it gives us that chance, because in reality, us as independent political groups and parties and movements, we cannot bring the justice. We're not an independent judiciary system. We cannot provide the facts. There is a judiciary system, not independent, but it's there. There are judges at work. But us being in the electoral process and hopefully being able to penetrate into the legislative power, it provides us the chance to lobby, and it provides us the chance to bring this into actual policy making. Will we be able to do that? Will we be able to succeed? We do not know. But now what we know, which we did not know and we were not aware of before, is all of what they said. Number one, it's the heightened awareness of the diaspora and of the Lebanese people that were not aware before after the October 17 revolution, and in specific after August 4. We have that heightened awareness. We have that more political organization taking place, and it's very real more than ever. And we hear the people now when we go to certain areas in the south and in the north and in the Beqa Valley, we hear people who used to believe so dearly in their sectarian political parties, they want to know who are the alternative. So now people actually want to know who the alternative is. Do they know? We're at work. We're at work to outreach to them and to tell them there is the alternative.
And that interest is new. Who's the alternative is new.
Yeah, I mean,
I need to add something. I remember a few weeks ago when the prosecutor wanted to interrogate the head of the security general, Abbas Brahim, who's basically one of the key stakeholders in the port. What happened? Or Saliba from what's called the Security State Department. What happened? Basically, this was blocked. If you want to interrogate any of the ex-MPs or the current MPs or the ex-ministers or current ministers, technically they're going to block it. The process of justice in Lebanon is not a smooth path. It's not normal. You cannot do it.
Because of the system.
Because of the system. That's why when the people, when the families of the victims tried to go to confront the Minister of Interior, who technically on public TV said that he killed 2 people but he's still there, and which is bizarre and sad. So basically, they were faced with tear gas and they were harassed, etc., and they couldn't do anything. So bringing justice needs tools. So the parliament is one of the tools. It's not the whole tools. The other big tool is the people energy on what they've been doing. And one thing which is sad to say, despite that how beautiful it is, but I remember, and I'm doing a kind of comparison. 4th of August 2020, there was no one but the people of Beirut, people of Lebanon, helping the people of Lebanon. I remember the same thing in 2006 in the war in July. It was the people, the young people of Lebanon, helping the people of Lebanon. We don't live in a state, we don't live in a country where there's no one responsible. If we didn't clean our streets, no one's gonna clean them. If we didn't help each other, the diaspora played a huge role in supporting and helping, but the government wasn't there. And we reached a point where the international community, despite how bad or good they are, said, sorry, we can give the money directly to the people, but we don't trust to give it to the government. And I think if you don't trust to give the government money to help the people, will you trust in implementing justice? I don't think so.
That's why it's important. I think we're like-minded people. We believe
Yes,
in
we're
that.
branched. Why?
Yes, but what I want, I don't mean to be pessimistic. No, I'm neither pessimistic nor optimistic. I'm just trying to be realistic. And what about the people who are not like-minded? I'm not talking about people who are pro their political parties. I'm talking about the in-between people who, and I would like really to talk about it freely because we're talking about elections, who have been kind of prosecuting the revolution, prosecuting the people who were involved in attaining or trying to attain justice after the Beirut explosion. And as you said, it's a process. It's not an easy thing, but it's important to acknowledge that not everyone, the level of political awareness in Lebanon among youth or the bigger generation is not that high. Now it is beginning. This is why it's very important to talk about momentum, because it involves emotions.
It is momentum enough. Like today, our capital is destroyed. Our people are kind of defeated, whether we can overdo it or not. And what will it take for us, all of us, to unite, at least for the next 4 years, the parliamentary election, to bring justice for the people that were the victims, and to rebuild our capital. Whatever beyond the problems that we have in Lebanon, today we have a major problem, which is our capital is totally destroyed. What will it take us to rebuild this capital on all its levels?
Sorry.
Okay, just I would like to clarify something first, and I think you do all agree with me. I don't think that the opposition forces are divided. I think we're like-minded people, we are allied.
But from a media point of view,
Yeah.
It's different.
it's totally seeing different groups trying to, I don't know the agenda of National Bloc. From basically, we all take our information today on platforms.
But one thing on that, sorry, Tati, but one thing on that is, this is not something to be necessarily worried about today. Rather, from my perspective, it's something to celebrate in a way that we have different groups, different new political parties, independent political parties that have different agendas. And that's okay, that's normal, as long as the goal is the same. If you talk to people from minteshreen or people from National Bloc or others, the end goal to get to, as I said earlier, rebuild the country, rebuild our people, is the same. How to get there is going to be different because we are different humans, we have different perspectives and points of view. At some point, when the time comes, we will unite. We're like-minded people. We understand that being divided, and divided is not the right word here. We're not divided. We have different, you call it a branch. We have different, roads to get to that same goal. And at some point, we're going to get there. And we don't need to talk about a unity group today. It's too early from a political perspective. Even talking political analysis and tactics to get to that. We're in August. It's too early. But at this point, celebrating the fact that there are different opinions, different ideas, and then work together at some point, because we are working together. You know, National Bloc knows exactly who are in minteshreen. They work with them. نحن from مجتربين مجتمعين, we're not a political party, we're a political group, of course, and then we're kind of a platform to get to these people to talk to each other and raise their voices at the diaspora, right? And that's, you know, that middle ground, and then working on it once we understand it, is what's going to help us for, you know, to rebuild the country we're
But
talking
it's
about.
important to take into consideration how people outside this network think. That's what I'm trying
Exactly.
to say. This
I-
is why,
I
yeah, this is
think
why
in
what
campaigning,
Michelle mentioned, the media thing.
Sally, I think in campaigning, there's stages.
بس أنا مش
Well,
عم
ju-
بحكي, I'm
let
not
me
talking
just
about
one second.
campaigning.
In any campaign, there's stages. At this moment, calling for unity
It's early.
it's not early, it's useless.
It's useless.
And unity is useless because I believe in democracy and in diversity. However, having said that, that doesn't mean I don't want minteshreen and National Bloc to unite in one party. I want them to work together, actually, and they are, because of the 13 April coalition and the Lebanese opposition front. So people are grouping as we speak, but we need to have a common ground approach. We need to have one banner. So we are the opposition. In any change, voting against is an easy target to achieve. Voting for is very hard.
Correct.
Now we need to mobilize the people to vote against. I remember the discussions with the Naqaba Tantafit. The divisions, the problems. I think if at least both of you followed as members of this group, I think it was hell.
But they appeared united
Yes.
to the people.
No, they appeared with a
They-
brand. It's not united with a
common
brand.
brand.
With
They
a
or we?
common brand.
They or we?
We in Naqaba Tantafid, and with the coalitions we did, we appeared as one brand. But what I observed during the elections is that the people who came to vote didn't care who's running. They didn't know
Walid, but
Arif
you're talking
Yassin or
about
someone.
educated people, and
I'm-
I'm
I'm-
talking about the public. I'm
But,
talking about
this
public
is
perception.
the public, Sally. This is a misconception about engineers. Engineers aren't elites. They are
I'm not
normal
talking about
people.
elitism. No, I'm
I'm
just
talking about a voter's behavior. From a voter's behavior perspective, they didn't know who's running. They went to a brand.
Yes,
So what
I
we
agree.
need to do today, not today, actually what we need to do by end of the year, is to have the united banner. This banner, which basically there's real work on that. Yani. There's more than one group working. There's more than one agreement that happened. And I think meetings on this level has been happening. It's not going to be easy. We have a war of egos, and let's face it, that's a reality. Remember, it's part of the Lebanese character to have this ego or being gay. This is what's there. But at a certain point, and it's too early, when we start to campaign, we need to tell the people, we are the alternative. This is the alternative,
But
which
let
is a
me tell
brand.
you something, Walid. يعني أنا برجع بقول, I'm talking about the public. You're talking about a syndicate.
No,
You're
I'm talking about Lebanese public, not about the syndicate.
We disagree a little bit لأنه I'm a
Maybe,
bit.
yes, that's
I'm
your
a bit.
opinion, Sally.
I'll tell you why. لأنه I'm a bit worried about how people will perceive. لأنه I'm so much protective over the work that has been done over the years, especially after the explosion, which creates an anger. And I always talk about anger. People should be angry. Now people are not angry, unfortunately. Let's see today. People are disappointed, and this is very important to analyze the emotional or the sentiment, to do a sentiment analysis of the public. People are disappointed. When they are disappointed, they are dormant. That's why we need to revisit our strategies. There are different strategies, but we need to really analyze the public psychology more micro, not on a macro level. I'm not talking about people who are followers of the parties again. Let them be whatever they want. It's very difficult to change them. But I'm talking about, I know I deal with a lot of youth. I teach at different universities with different backgrounds, with different mentalities. And there's a lot of, إذا بدك هيك, jeopardy over from the involvement of youth in the elections. And we've seen their involvement in the public mobilizing, if I may call it.
But
So-
this goes with education. يعني
I agree.
And it goes with the same thing what you
but
said
we
earlier.
don't have time. That's
We
why
don't,
I'm
we
talking
don't.
about it. And with people, let's analyze it. Let's do a media strategy that would look at these people and see that these people, it's a matter of
Sally, you
egos
cannot
probably.
mobilize people for a long period.
No.
History taught us a lesson. I can mobilize people today. This momentum will stay for a month, maybe two.
True.
But it's gonna be very hard to mobilize again. We need to start mobilizing on the fourth night of the election. We cannot start mobilizing today.
Do we
Today-
mobilize for Beirut? For example, I will take your opinion. Like, would we be able to say that for the next parliamentary 4 years, we'll be just running for Beirut to rebuild the capital, to bring justice and to really rebuild our capital, to put it back on the map?
That-
We'll be able to do something where I am a voter, where I have political parties and influencers. Will I be able to go say, I disagree or agree with National Bloc, I be a bit more approach to minteshreen or not, but I will want to go to say, today I'm voting the Beirut and I know these people will be rebuilding my capital. Is it possible to happen or not?
Of course.
As a slogan, yes. Technically, it's not the MP's role to do that. But you should be voting for a group.
For an
whose-
agenda.
What?
You want to vote for an agenda.
An agenda which will have rebuilding Beirut as a top priority.
So in the syndicates, did we vote for an agenda or did we just vote for change?
Change.
We voted
Change,
for,
the
we voted for
victorious.
change. So
So the idea
we're talking
is,
about a million topics at the
Yeah.
same time here. So, but I just wanted, sorry, but just to finish on the syndicate, I think the syndicate votes are small wins with high impact, and it's like, and then yes, people get tired, and then they want to, they're not going to be mobilized all the time. That's why there's a time to be on the street, and there's a time to be, to be voting, and then there's time to mobilize to do something else, and it all goes with education. Yes, everybody's going to, people ask me, where is Saura? Where is the Saura? Where is the revolution? You're not on the streets, the Saura is dead. No, the Saura is not being on the street yelling and then being beaten by the police. This is not what it is. It's part of it, yes. It is part of the upbringing of the people. But getting, the Syndicate of the Engineers, of the judiciary, getting the students' elections, these are small wins that prove that it is working with a high impact, because these little syndicates here and there are going to help towards building the country again. This is not enough. I'm not saying we're good, but at least we have light at the end of the tunnel. We know that we are on the right track, all of us together, building this, and then people abroad and inside are seeing there is movement. And so we will continue with other elections, with other things that are going to come up, but we can't just say, that's it, everybody's tired and we're done. It's not what it is.
I think key takeaways from what Sally, Walid, and Joey have been saying is that you're not saying many different things, because in reality, who are we facing? We're facing state parties that have institutionalized a mafia with with militias that are ruling. So we're facing a monster in all its literal terms. So given that as a fact, of course we celebrate being divided, because democracy and these are all beautiful, and this is democratic to be in general free and different. Celebrated, yes, but in the face of such monster, where will it get us? Will we be able to penetrate into the parliament that way? And this is where the whole campaigning and the role of the media is important, and the role of how we're going to bring our strategies together. Because yes, there's still going to be people voting for the political parties that have already been in the sulta. This is a fact. You have a big clientelistic network still at play. So we are going to bring change, but we're not going to dominate the parliament. This is a fact for real. So there's still that. There are the people who have heightened political awareness and have already found their way through political organization and know who they want to vote for. But there are people that are lost, like my father and my uncle, that don't know who the alternatives are. And this is who we need to really target. And this is where common branding, for example, the Naqaba Tantafit played a huge role, because people don't want to see 500 brand names and 500 logos, 500 different agendas. And they want to see one thing, one goal under different umbrellas and different wings, but working towards one thing. So I think this is something to start getting into the talks, because we're all starting to work together for the elections, and it's time to strategize. There are campaign phases, and this is the more technical part that Walid really knows.
This is
But,
why I add, sorry, but before
yeah.
I forget it, the other thing we're not facing only the monster of the sultan. We're facing also the mentality of people who are in between.
Yeah.
Why am I saying the in between? Because we really misread something sometimes in Lebanon, that the political parties, yes, they are based on on ideologies, but these ideologies are based on, unfortunately, on religious
Sectarianism,
basis,
religious.
which makes it more complicated to fight them. So you're fighting two different
Yes.
players.
What Ghiya and Sally are saying is very important, and I liked how Sally talked about that the dichotomy now is between sulta powers and the opposition. So I think our strategy must be to make people aware that
Thank you.
of this dichotomy, and I think this is very possible through elections. We need to make people aware that true change must be achieved through politics. So that's our strategy, to make the dichotomy clear. It's not 14 March and 8 that are the dichotomy, but it's now sulta against opposition forces. And to talk about the media, on the 13th of April, we announced an intention of an open coalition. There were many groups. There was minteshreen, there was everyone. We announced an intention of collaborating, working all together, and it's an open coalition. So I think, I don't know, Sally, what was the impact on the people who saw this announcement? I don't know if it was perceived as we wanted it to be perceived.
Let me tell you, I always do a kind of segmentation for people. And it's like you do the marketing thing. So to segment people who were involved in the revolution were very happy about it, and they were proud about it. The other, هلا to be شوي هيك, to be the devil's advocate, some people said, no, okay, they're bringing us back into the 13th of April thing, they're bringing back the memory of the civil war that we're trying to forget. So that's why I'm saying it's very important. هلا we're not going to make everyone satisfied, but it's important to understand the sentiment of people so that we can engineer the right discourse.
Let me
is
give
why
you
talking
some
about
numbers which
media.
I think are good numbers. In late statistics, which covered Lebanon, 76% of the Lebanese said they won't change. 24 are happy with the political parties. It depends between one area or another, but that's the general numbers. Our problem or our challenge is how many people out of these 76% can we mobilize in the next elections? In the last elections, 49.3% of the Lebanese voted. In these elections, we should be hoping for 60%. And anyone who talks about above 60%, that's technically almost impossible. So this is a first challenge we need to do. I need to end with a lesson learned from Naqabat al-Tafel, which was shocking for us. We knew from day one they had 20 ballots. Ballot 1 is for the oldest members and 20 for the most recent members. We knew that ballots 10 to 20 are going to be easy for us. But we were really worried that the elder generations will not vote for us. We were shocked that we won each and every one of the 20 ballots. I'm talking about number 1, 2, 3, and 4. We said we were really aware that we will not win these ballots. We won them, and we're not talking about young engineers. I'm talking about elderly. What does this indicate? It indicates that even within the people that we think are less open for change, there's a room for a change. Our mission today, or the challenge, is how to mobilize these 76% of the Lebanese to go actually represent the will for change in a ballot to bring change. That's the challenge, and that's what we all should be working for. And to achieve this, we need to understand that bringing change is based on a common ground approach, not on a full vision together. We don't need to agree on the way we need our financial system in the year 2030. This is not what we are uniting for. We'll have left, right, and center. That's normal and that's good. It's not bad.
I'll add to the success story the student councils that were a real success.
Yes, this is the thing. What we've been noticing, sorry Sally, is that ideas are stronger. So, for example, students went to vote for secularism. They didn't want to vote for anything else. Nakaba Tantafid went to vote because they felt we have to win a syndicate and make a difference. So they want to vote for a difference. What will be told to all diverse and like really bigger communities all over Lebanon that we don't have normal communication as we have on these small university and syndicates level is going to be much more extreme for us and much more difficult for us. And we all worked the election before. It's much more difficult to organize it. And today we're seeing that these small wins are hopes. But are they really hopes? Are they really hopes to a system that half of us will not go to vote because we already know that I'm voting to a sectarian
We have no
law?
other
Sorry,
option,
but I
Michel.
don't think they're hopes. They're facts.
Yeah.
They happened. People went and they voted, and then they happened, and then it's like it's building blocks. We're building something here. You start at the bottom. We are below the bottom, right? And we're emerging somewhere, and then that's what all of us are trying to do. Each one in its separate area. With our group, with mejtemiin, mejtemiin, we are in more than 40 cities, more than 20 countries. Each one of us, each city rep, each group there is trying to do their best to continue raising that awareness and then making those facts or those hopes into facts, actually. And that's what those examples are. Go ahead. I wanted to give an example. I'll say it later.
Yeah, so just to add on what he said, Naqaba Tantafid, the last elections of the syndicate of the order, I think around 3,000 people came to vote. Around, I'm not sure of the exact number. This year it was 8,000 people came and voted. So there's a huge, like, people actually thought that, okay, if we cast our vote, it's more likely that we're going to lead to change. So this rise of the numbers is a proof of to why it's a fact and it's a success. Is it the only success though? Like, can we be drunkened by this momentum it has created? No. No.
We can
have the
create.
luxury.
But
We don't have the luxury for
we don't.
that.
But we know that we are. I said
Testing the ground.
exactly.
Yes.
We're on the right
Test the
track.
ground,
Yes.
and
We are
there's
on the
room
right
for
track.
change.
Yes.
And of course,
Definitely.
what we've done in the past is not going to define what we need to do in the future. We need to change the strategy as the economical climate evolve, the political climate evolve, etc. For sure. But one example I wanted to give is in San Francisco, where I live today. We organized a vigil on August 5 last year, and when the media came, they asked us, how many are you expecting to see? And I said literally 20, 25 people, my friends, some others. We were more than 350 people. I talked with every single people there. And I realized there's 3 groups, and actually you can extrapolate that example to all of the cities in the world today. There's 3 groups of people, of Lebanese people that will be able to vote in the next elections and in the future milestones for Lebanon. You have the older generation that immigrated, between the war and after the war, that are tired, that don't want to hear anything about Lebanon. They have kids in America and all these countries that don't even speak Arabic. They've been to Lebanon once to visit Teta, and that's it, right? These people were there, and they were asking, how can I participate in the change? I am seeing the lights. I am seeing something new. You are giving me hope for a better Lebanon, while we spent the last 20, 30 years, thinking that the country is doomed. We're done, right? And so that's a huge testament to the work we're doing. You have the younger generation that immigrated, after 17, 18 because they wanted to for a better future because things didn't work out. And then you have the people that left after 17th of October, because they had no other choice than just survival, right? They left not because they wanted to, because they had to. And these people want to come back. And then our work, all of us together, is to get the elder generation, the middle generation, and the people that just left out of despair to come back and vote again. And these people talk to me, talk to us, talk to multiple representatives in the different cities. They want change. They want to know how they can help.
And
They
this
want-
is why it's important talking about momentum.
Exactly.
It was a momentum back then. Halla, this is why it's
Now we
important
need-
to sustain it.
In February, we need to create a
sus-
momentum, not before. But before that, there's a major challenge, guys. It's not easy. We need to lobby all our power, locally and internationally, to make sure that by 15 May, the deadline for elections, we have general elections. And then we have local elections by the same time. Which is, from what I know and I've seen, given what's happening, there won't be elections.
So
Let's
come
not
again.
go
So
there.
let's
not
lobby
go
for
there.
that.
Yes.
Let's go
Let's
lobby
go
for
again.
elections.
Because we're on
That's
this
what
day.
we need to-
Walid, that's what I'm saying. Sorry. Okay, there's a possibility إنه ما يكون there's no elections. But let's work as if there is elections tomorrow.
On another note, we need to lobby to make sure
That,
there is
elections
elections,
happen.
not
Yes.
to only
Yes.
consume
This is one of
ourselves in building a list.
Entirely.
There's so much work
Yeah.
to be done to make sure that there is elections on time.
Lobbying is something and communicating is something. That's why I'm saying lobbying is something very important. But people need
know
to be aware and be reminded that there will be elections. It's not about they're doing any propaganda.
This has been done. This part has been done. We've been working so closely with the media. The media is totally supporting of us. We're doing that. The point is now we need to lobby locally and internationally, and the role of the diaspora is extremely important to create lobby groups, which is effective, because unlike what we think, Lebanon is not on the international agenda today. Not a bit. It's people not that much
What do
concerned.
you think?
And there is multiple. This is not. We're not walking one line towards one only goal. There is multiple. We need to lobby for multiple things on multiple fronts toward multiple goals that will converge at some point, whether it's in May, whether it's in whatever. And so, yes, Walid, you may have a point. Are the elections going to happen? I can tell you, no, it's not going to happen now, because if I say that, why am I even trying? This doesn't
No, what
make
I'm saying is that we need to be aware
Yeah.
that they
Oh,
are
we are.
willing to not to do
Absolutely.
to push the election
Absolutely.
or
We're
postpone it.
not
We
to
shouldn't.
that.
This
let them
is
do
why
that.
we
That's
exist.
what
This
I'm
is
saying.
why minteshreen exists. This is why national bloc exists. This is why there's many others that have those different agendas to try to make sure these are going to happen. And then whether we need to involve some international lobbying, it's another topic that we don't need to go into that right now. But I don't think any of us is a fool in terms of how much the Sultan is able to do to make us look bad and fail. But the reality is what we're seeing today in our political climate. They're not at ease. We're making strides here and there. Again, we're not winning. I'm not declaring victory by any means. I'm just saying we are all on the right track, as I said before, and we are not stupid. We understand who we're facing. It's like the last round of a video game. It's the last round. The big bad guy. It's it. We're ready to kill him, and we're not going to do it alone. Not me alone, not Sally alone, not you alone, not any of us alone. Together, and that's where, this unity that you mentioned earlier is going to, to make an impact when the time comes. The time has not come. It's not the right time. It's not, and we know that.
Okay, let me just add a very important thing. Communicating is very important, lobbying is very important, people's awareness is very important. What you have to do is to make people confident that their vote will matter. So we need an independent supervisory body to supervise the elections. That's the most important thing we need for the elections. So people will have confidence that, yeah, my vote will count, my vote will be perceived well, my vote will make an impact. So we need an independent supervisory body.
So who's surveilling this election? Who will be surveilling the election?
We have to lobby to have an independent supervisory body supervising and supported by the international community, supported by the UN.
Are we working on it?
We don't have time. If we're
We
gonna
can't
push
disclose
for a
everything we're
change
doing.
of the law, because the law form. I don't want to go
So
into
this is
that.
the thing, guys. I wanted to come to an end that for August 4 and for Beirut, is election more important than justice? what is our role as our civil society, and this is why we kind of created this panel to see if
Election is a
election
path for justice.
Election, yeah, it's
Part
not.
of
is it the only
justice
path,
process.
and as a role
Possible
as
one.
the most
You're-
influential public groups.
You're talking about civil society as it and the opposition forces as if they were like separated. No, they are cooperating. They must be cooperating in order to achieve change. So
But who from the other side will cooperate with us to for example, not fake the elections? You know, the one most easy thing is that the last election already Jabran Basir faked half of the votes. So
there's-
what
there's
guarantee do we
Always
have?
We need
Door
to talk
for-
to people
yeah.
about, we need to tell them, now we have better tools. Now we
Yeah.
are more aware. Now we are more
We are
united.
so present on social
and
media,
we need
and
them.
as you know it.
We need them on board.
The bigger the turnout, the less the possibility
Of German.
to playing with the results of the elections. If we have low turnouts, it's easy to fake, to do
Yeah.
whatever. If
Absolutely.
you have
Yeah.
high turnout, technically it's very high. Already there's international observations according to the law. There's definitely LADE and the road and the civil society observing the elections. There is a part of this. But we have so many challenges we need to start working on.
At the end of the day, I think every Lebanese, I mean, inside Lebanon and abroad, and I'll talk for abroad for a second since that's why I'm here. We need to get to a point where every single Lebanese in every city should be able to understand how to vote, how to register to vote, because these are always hidden everywhere. How to get to register to vote, how to vote, who to vote for, and then why they're voting for these people. And it's at the end of the day, it's two options only. It's Sulta or not Sulta.
Yeah.
And then this is on us to make sure that this is what they're getting as an option, and then hopefully vote not Sulta, and then all of this turnout will come out from abroad and from inside the country, and we won't be able to have them rigged. And if
And I think
And that's
4th of August 2020 showed that political corruption literally can
Kills.
kill us.
Yeah.
Literally.
literally.
There's, we're not talking about, we're not saying any statements. It's real.
Killed
I mean,
us.
we're all here by luck, by coincidence, and
Yeah.
we're all not okay. We're all traumatized. We're all not fine. We're all have been affected.
it's a-
So what matters is what people would do in the elections. That's what people should think. I always think about the people who are kind of outside this network, who are dormant, who are not involved in
Yeah.
political movements anymore, or they're not involved in political movements now. They have to. If you don't want to go on the street, as you mentioned, maybe it has changed, it has shifted. So what matters for people abroad or here or any students or anyone is just to go and do their duty and vote for something, for someone who is not familiar. It's okay, unfamiliarity can be fun sometimes.
How would you like to cancel? Someone want to say something in the end? It's like before, I guess we all mobilize ourselves on the
We need
ground.
to go mobilize ourselves.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if you want to say
And
something,
thank you
to
very
end
much.
it, thank you, everyone, guys.
Thank you.
It's-
Thank
I
you.
guess like we still have a lot to do until the election,
Yes.
and let's really hope that the next election will be to bring justice for Beirut, because we deserve it for all ourselves.
and
Thank
we're
you
ready
for
abroad
organizing
as
this.
much as here also.
You have
Yes.
to.
We'll make
guess
it
we
happen.
have
Hala, we'll
organize
take,
much more stuff
we'll take your
together.
contact. أكيد.
And guys, like,
Thank
I
you.
don't know,
Thank you,
but, like,
everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good day and stay safe.
You
Or
too.
not.
Thank you. We have to. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Yalla, bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye.
very nice to meet you. Yeah, I think we're not-
Thank you, Michelle.
Ghiya and Reem.